दौड़ न मुके चले चलिए जंगल पारा इस गल की ना पक्के हो चले चलिए जंगल पारा इस गल की ना पक्के हो सब मतलब हासिल होने बाहो जब पीर नजरे तके हो सब मतलब हासिल होने बाहो जब पीर नजरे तके हो ये महल पंजाब विच चानण दीवा कितवल तरिए हो पंजे महल पंजाब विच चानण दीवा कितवल तरिए हो पंजे महर पंजे पटवारी हासिल कितवल परिए हो पंजे महल पंजे पटवारी हासिल कितवल परिए पंजे अमाम ते पंजे किबले सजदा कितवल करिए हो पंजे अमाम ते पंजे किबले सजदा कितवल करिए हो बाहू साहिब जे सिर मंगे हरगिज दिल न करिए हो बाहू साहिब जे सिर मंगे हरगिज दिल न करिए हो पीर मिले आजे पीर न जावे ताऊ सुनो पीर की तरना हो पीर मिले आजे पीर न जावे ताऊ सुनो पीर की तरना हो मुर्शद मिले यार शाद न मन लो ओ मुर्शद की करना हो मुर्शद मिले यार शाद न मन लो ओ मुर्शद की करना हो जिस हादी कनो हिदायत नाही ओ हादी की फड़ना हो जिस हादी कनो हिदायत नाही ओ हादी की फड़ना हो जे सिर दित्या हक हासिल होवे मौतो मोल ना डरना हो जे सिर दित्या हक हासिल होवे मौतो मोल न डरना हो मुर्शद हादी सबक पढ़ाया ओ बिन पढ़ियो पिया पढ़ीवे हो मुर्शद हादी सबक पढ़ाया ओ बिन पढ़ियो पिया पढ़ीवे उंगलियां कन्ना विच दितिया बिन सुनियो पिया सुनीवे हो उंगलियां कन्ना विच दितिया बिन सुनियो पिया सुनीवे हो नैन नैनावलो तुर तुर तक दे बिन दिझिया पिया दसीवे हो नैन नैनावलो तुर तुर तक दे बिन दिझिया पिया दसीवे हो बाहू हर खाने विच जानी वसदा कुन सर होर खीवे हो बाहू हर खाने विच जानी वसदा कुन सर होर खीवे हो दिल का हुजरा साफ कर जाना के आने के लिए, दिल का हुजरा साफ कर जाना के आने के लिए, ध्यान गैरों का उठा उसके बैठाने के लिए, ध्यान गैरों का उठा उसके बैठाने के लिए, दिल का हुजरा साफ कर। चश्म दिल से देखा जो जो तमाशे हो रहे, चश्म दिल से देखा जो जो तमाशे हो रहे, दिल से क्या क्या है तेरे दिल से ताने के लिए, दिल से क्या।
Radha Swami. Radha Swami. We dedicate this satsang to loving memory, to his loving memory, Mr. Puri's loving memory. We all also have the Easter tomorrow, correct? What about in Poland? Is that tomorrow? Just like here? Easter celebration. This is known to mostly Christian. Since I was born in Poland and spent a part of my life in Poland, this is very important celebration. And I used to celebrate this a lot. I even started to be a priest for some time and never got ordained. Supposed to get ordained in US. Continue that. So I'm very familiar with this holiday. My plan was to let Raj share the story.
She just joined us, Cezary ji, just now, as we speak.
Welcome, Raj. Would you like to share a story with us? Can you hear me, Pranay?
Yes, Cezary ji, we can. We're just waiting for Raj Auntie's screen to come up. Yes, Raj Auntie, you can unmute yourself right now.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Can you hear?
Yes, Raj Auntie.
Because it was mute from your side.
Yes.
Yes. And thank you very much. And namaskar. And Radha Swami. Radha Swami, Caesar. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining us.
Yes, I was waiting.
No, now we are waiting for your story.
Oh, my friend came here. Sorry. Okay. So you want to listen story? He's so nice. Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you story. Very nice. Mm. So it's a story for Ishwarji's father, the father Lekhraj Puri, his father. And Master Savan Singh used to go and stay in their house whenever he's going to tour, his tour from Bias. And he used to stay on the way in Ishwar's house. And their house was on the way in Punjab. It's a city, the name is Hoshiarpur. And when he going further to hill stations, and he has to pass that city from Bias. So he's used to live over there. So when he's coming back, even then he was staying one day in there. So one time he started from Bias and he was going to Hoshiarpur. On the way. It was stormy night, very rain and storm over there. Then Hazur asked his driver, see if there is any guest house on the way, we can stay over there and we can go in the morning to Lekhraj Puri's house. So after some miles going, they saw a guest house, but it was not completed. It was still under construction. But at that time, there was no excuse. So they asked the owner of that guest house if they can stay a night here because of the storm and rain. And if there is available one room over here. So he told her, yeah, there is one room upstairs and one room in the middle story. And one is open yard downstairs. If you have some people, they can stay in this open yard. Open yard means there was a little roof on it, like a porch, and they can stay there. And you can stay in the middle room. And your driver can stay to the top story, one room only. But this room on the top story is locked since we started this construction of this guest house. So, because that is a room when the builder was building, and since then, when he died, we locked that room top. So, but there was no excuse. Where the master was staying, there was only one bed place. And Shadi, his driver, has to stay up on the top story in that room, which was locked for a long time. So the other Sevadars, they stood in the first floor on the ground, and the storm was coming and the rain was coming. There's some sprinkling in that open yard, I will say that porch, you can say anything, but there was a roof on that area. They were lying down on the floor, and they were given some beds to sleep at night, but they were having wind, strong wind coming over them, but they stayed night over there. And the middle story was Savan. And Savan asked Shadi that you can stay on the locked room and you can clean. And they asked the owner if he can stay there. Yes, he can stay there. The owner told that Shadi, and he gave a broom to clean it. So he went upstairs and opened he gave the key and opened the lock. And as soon as he opened the door and started brooming, and he heard a voice from the room, and the voice said, "Do not enter the room. Nobody can enter this room." And the Shadi was afraid, it's a little room and somebody speaking like a man, and he opened the lock and he ran down to Hazur. He told Hazur, "There is something like a ghost. It's a ghost voice over there and I can't enter." And the voice says, "You can't enter this room. You can't clean in this room." So Hazur laughed. He said, "Okay, I will go with you. I will clean it." So the Hazur went over there and the Hazur took the broom and he was to broom, and the voice came, "Do not enter this room. Do not clean this room. Do not broom this room." The Hazur stood in the middle of the room. He said, "Who are you? I want to see you. Come out and don't hide yourself. You tell me why we do not want to, why you don't want us to clean the room." And the voice said, "Hazur, you know what kind of soul I am left here. What can I say that? Because nobody cleaned this room for years. So I was building this guest house, and this room was being built for my family. And only this room was finished, and I was to finish the kitchen and the bedroom for my family. But all of a sudden, and the wood from the ceiling fell down and it hit my brain and I died here. But my last wish was very, very sad that I couldn't complete my family's house on this top of the building. So what is my fault? I was doing good job. I was building this guest house for the people and I wanted to keep my family here. So I couldn't go from there, I'm still staying here and waiting for you. And Hazur laughed. Hazur said, "That's fine, it's okay, but your time was to leave this world." And then Hazur said, "What should I do? You leave this place now. My driver is here and stormy night. You can see that the rain is outside. How it can happen that he cannot stay here? He has to stay. You have to leave now." He said, "I can't leave tonight. If he want to sleep, he can sleep. I will keep on speaking and he can listen to me, but I'm not leaving." Then Master said, "How can you leave? Tell me." He said, "You do my salvation and promise me that you will take me with you. I don't want to come back in this world, this cruel world. It took my life for nothing." So Hazur said, "Okay, we will see that too. What is your karma doing? But for the time being, you leave it." No, I can leave tomorrow. He said, "Of what? What the reason?" He said, "You brought the holy book here in the morning and read the holy words, do the satsang here. And after satsang, listening and getting salvation from you, I will leave and you will take me." So Hazur said, "Okay, that will be done, but how can I believe that you left?" He said, "Okay, put up one jar of water, a pitcher, the clay pitcher." And in those days, that was a Hinduism religion. When the person is dying or dead and they want the salvation of the soul, they put the pitcher of the water over there. And after holy satsang, and they have to break the pitcher. But the pitcher, if it breaks itself, that means the soul has gone. So he said, Master said, "How I can believe that you left?" He said, "When the satsang will be over, that pitcher of water will broken, will be broken by itself. And the water will be flowing on the floor, and then you can think that I am gone. So at that time, Shadi slept over there, and the soul was talking, and he was listening voices of God and everything like, and Shadi started telling stories too, and the soul was listening stories. In the morning, Hazur called the Sikh people and the Sikh holy book, Guru Granth Sahib, and they cleaned the room and they put that holy book, and Hazur himself read that book and did some satsang, explain the words. And then they put the pitcher of water closer to the holy book. And when the satsang was over and prasad was given by Hazur to everyone, and the pitcher broke. And it broke into pieces and the water flew. And the Hazur said, called the owner, he said, now you are free. There's no ghost, no need of to lock this room and build your building guest house for the people. That will be okay. Everything is good. So the owner told, when we started hearing these voices, that's why we locked this room. And now it will be all okay. So the Hazur and the other Sevadars, they left that guest house and went to Lake Rajpuri's house. And that guest house still is there. It is called Savan Radha Swami Guest House. The name of that guest house is on the way to Hoshiarpur, and that is called Savan Radha Swami Guest House. So that is the personality of Hazur, and Lake Rajpuri was also with them. And he wrote this story. Lake Rajpuri wrote this story. He was coming with Master Saman from Vyas to his house, you know. Yeah. That was the master of our master, Ishwarji. That's why he got all the vibration from his master. You know, his name was given by Hazur when he was like 40 days old child. His mom, Kamlavati, he brought the child in the lap of Hazur, and Hazur gave the name Ishwar. In Hindi, the God's name is Ishwar. Thank you very much, Radha Swami.
Thank you, Radha Swami.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to take 5-minute break, if that's okay.
Okay, good, good, good. Thank you. Thank you. How are you? How do you feel, Grace?
Grace,
I'm
Nice,
here.
Grace.
is this question to Grace or to me?
Yeah, no, Grace. For Grace.
I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah, I want to see you. Good, nice.
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Okay,
sitting on
so we'll
in
see
the
you
little
after the break.
corner. Yes, I
Yeah.
see you in the 5 minutes. Right,
Yeah,
beautiful
okay.
story. Thank you
Yes,
so
thank you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So who do we have today?
We have with us Shemek from Poland, Petteri, Nick, Lina, Gerald, William. We have Amit and from Wisconsin, and family from Wisconsin. We have Gunjan and Sarvanan from Singapore, along with Raja Auntie.
Wow.
And Grace.
Oh, Cezary and Grace,
And,
of course, yeah.
And Grace. And Mr. Puri. And the great master. Today is kind of more relaxed satsang, okay? We're not gonna go like to the theology of Santma. I'm not gonna try to bore you to sleep. So there's plenty topics to talk about, and I have quite a few questions from many people about very important subjects. But if any of you have a question, any type of question, I mean, spiritual question connected with Sant Mat, not what the numbers for the lottery or anything like that, you know, just if I knew, I keep it to myself. Hit the Powerball, right? So otherwise, I have a few subjects, but if you have any question, I can kind of tie this together if you wish. Usually, if you go to these different satsangs where people talk, they don't want to take the questions. No one wants to take any questions live. In this satsang, I'm asking for live questions, but usually no one wants to take a risk of asking. So please understand that this path is actually very different what the ideas we have about. Mr. Puri speaks about that, and there's we just posted video. Mr. Puri's video, the last video. There's a very good. It's about an hour and a half or more. I was just listening a little bit today. Mr. Puri explains a lot of different subjects in this one video. And there's some question and answers, but Mr. Puri answered the questions. I will recommend for anyone to check it out, that video. So if no one has any question, like I said, normally I will try to explain this and that, and that would take like 8 hours usually, or 7 hours long. This is a question very important for many. This is not the question I received. This is the question many people ask. So I prepared some worksheet here. And this is from October 23rd, 2019. I received this from Sangram, very spiritual person. But anyway, the subject is PLM successors, great masters, initiation, and etc., and so forth and so on. This is very important because there are many people who are initiated by the saint or Sadguru, or maybe some different path, not necessarily Sutra Yoga. There are many different initiations. And Sutra Yoga and Sant Mat, we are very concerned about initiation by the Sat Guru. And we have this concept of going to the feet of the Sadguru. Many of us when we had this like a mini interview going for Prashad, when Master Puri was alive in the physical form. To me, he is, how should I explain, real. So this is not my concern, but this is a concern about many people, because Mr. Puri left his physical form. So where do we go from here? Especially for someone who may be seeking initiation. Please understand there's always PLM around. As far as I know, Mr. Puri spoke about this, there's never a time when there's no PLM. Let's say the present master, speaking in the past master, he may appoint someone. That's one way of going about. But there are other ways which are in the works also with these PLMs. Not many people really know how that really works. So there's a lot of speculations about that. Also, when the Namdan is, when the presence of the master, of the feet of the master, as we speak, this is the center of spirituality at that time. Now also, please understand that the concept of the feet of the master, that means radiant form of Sat Purush. When you speak about going to the feet of the master and so forth, but this is really radiant form of the master. And in this case, in Sandmat, this is Sat Purush. So instead of just giving you these different ideas, which you may claim, where did you get that? Where did you get that? I'm taking a little bit different approach in the Satsang. And I'm going to the words of my master, Ishvara Puri. So there is no questions about this, what we say at the Satsang. These are his words. I have written here from some of his talks, which are recorded or transcripts. You can all verify this. I will just try to explain a few things as I read. I normally don't do that. Maybe once last a year and a half or so. But this is a very important subject, so I don't want to have an misunderstanding what these masters are saying. In this case, Mr. Puri and great master Hazur Baba Samasen. So in this way, we don't have a Cezary said that, Cezary didn't say that, or where does he get this stuff? So I will take this opportunity to, it's like a mini workshop about the subject, perfect living master, medical PLM. But we're really speaking about Sat Guru, which is the saint which operates from the region of Sachkhand, or Satlok, and that's located right here. Sachkhand is located when there's opening here. When the baby is born, there's a little opening here. The Sachkhand, this is where it is located. When the baby is small, This is a very soft spot. And when it's pressed, there's a sound there, and that is sat, sat, sat. You can hear. So this is a center these masters operate. Perfect living masters, as reflected as in the human form, opened body. So you want to reach Satchkand, or I want to reach Satchkand. Where is it? Where is it? It's right here. That is Sataloka, Satlok. This is the words these masters are speaking about when you look at the physical form. Like when you look at my form, you can see it. Let me change the glasses. These are funny looking glasses, like 70s or 80s, you know. So I'm just going to read some of it. This is Mr. Puri explaining. But the question to this is, becoming PLM requires to be chosen by the previous PLM as a successor. This is in that aspect. I'm not going to read everything. You can do this yourself. I may post this on the Ishvar Puri Santmat once I have a Sangram. Okay. A PLM is total consciousness, and he is prevailing everywhere. He's not a body sitting in some place. This is in reference to Shabbat. A PLM can appear in anybody at any time, because the PLM is total of consciousness. And here Mr. Puri explained that every human being is capable of being a PLM. So Mr. Puri explains here that we all have this potential. This perfect living master, this consciousness, which we really participate in the sense, not from this form, but spiritually, we all have this potential, so to speak. Mr. Puri says, traditionally, about the PLM, how they, this works is the guidance given to the people. I'm reading Mr. Puri's words, transcript. It does not mean that appointment of a PLM makes him always perfect. Masters, no, all are not perfect. Master can appoint people who are not perfect living masters at the time, for example, and declare them PLMs. Then Mr. Puri explained, the master, he only comes for seekers that are marked on his list. In other words, Mr. Puri explained that, let's say there's more than one perfect living master. Let's say there's 5. And there's this concept of each master has his own list of what they call the marked souls. So if I'm the seeker, I can be in the presence of one master. He could be perfect living master, or he could be just a master. To me, perfect living master has a power of initiation. In other words, this is a type of master which has the power of Namdan, who can link you with the origination of Shabbat in that sense. With the feet of Satpurus, metaphorically speaking, the radiant form. I'm not speaking here about just the radiant form of the master, astral form. I'm speaking about radiant form of Satpurush. Because Sadguru operates from that, call it region or state of consciousness. Doesn't look at this as this is the place necessary you go. This is the state of consciousness. I'm trying to explain something here. So if there's a seeker, he will feel pulled to specific master. Now you may ask, how many are there now? That's a good question. Now, Mr. Puri says here something else. So that it is why it is only for convenience of close disciples to have a little indication this could be the master. This is an interesting concept because let's say there is a master now, but there's usually a very small group of people around that master who have an inclination that this person could be the master. The inner inclination, inner intuition. This doesn't necessarily has to deal with hundreds or thousands of people recognizing that. When Mr. Puri says here, there is usually a group of a little group, a band of people who have an inclination that this could be that master. Then Mr. Puri says, the role of the PLM is limited to picking up marked souls. This is an important statement because many people or seekers think the role of PLM is to make their life wonderful and no more problems and none of that, no challenges in life. The role of the perfect living master is to take you to such kind. In other words, to become aware of such kind in that sense. So master takes you, he's always take you, it's not to deal with gymnastics of the mind in that sense. The masters deal with that. They will even create some scars temporary for the seekers to help him reach a noble mind or perfect mind. This is the universal mind. This is when you become aware of the causal body. Please understand that the causal body is simply mind. Don't look at this as a necessary form or looking like arms and legs and head, okay? There's no senses. All the senses from the astral form, they merge into just a single awareness in the body and the mind body. But the master, the perfect living master, takes you beyond that to such kind. In the past, we spoke about at least I spoke about in the Satsang, that you can be with the perfect living master. And that was some time ago, I spoke about that. But he will act with the disciple according to the consciousness of disciple or the seeker. And this could be a person who is initiated by the master. But because the stage of development within the mind and beyond the mind, master address each of us individually. So I said in the past, the master can address someone as a Sadguru, although he is a perfect living master. Or he can address someone else as a Satguru. Master spoke about that, Mr. Puri. That was the list A. You know, here like a list A, list B, and list C. Later on, I heard even. In other words, he will say someone on the list A is taken by the master to the true home within that lifetime. Someone on a list B, it may take a longer. Okay, but this is not the limitations of the master or perfect living master. These are the limitations of the disciple, or how devoted disciple is. Is he just taking easy and on the path of Sanmat? I'm reading next, and this is what I'm reading right now. You can listen yourself. This is How to Control the Mind, Ishwar Puri, 24th February 2018, Newport Beach, California. So these are actually transcripts of his talks, what he's explained, question and answers. On this part, Great Master said, most of the masters who came never appointed a successor. If they did, it was for the sake of people around them. Those who were appointed, mostly one or two successors, were perfect. The rest, one or two successors were perfect, the rest were not. He also said, this is in reference to the Great Master, I'm reading down. That in line of masters, according to the Great Master, never exceeded 5. Mostly it was 1, 2, or 3, but never, according to the Great Master here, Mr. Puri says, never exceeded 5. Teachings begin to change after that. It becomes more religion, spirituality is lost, and so forth and so forth. So now you may, how do you calculate? So let's say Swamiji of Agra, and you take that lineage to St. Jalma Sen, that's 2. Then you go to the Great Master Hazur Baba Sava Sen, that's 3. Then you go to Mr. Puri, that's 4. I'm just speaking about this line, not of 20 other lines of 500 masters. And then, so according to Great Master, there's a possibility of number 5, but not beyond that, according to Hazur Baba Sava Sen. So there's a possibility of the master after Mr. Puri, but this will probably will be the end of it, according to these masters. The question, if you're already initiated by the perfect master, but feel a very strong pull toward another master, What does it mean? Can that person be initiated by the second perfect master? In that case, whose radiant form is seen inside? Is the second radiant form also imprinted in Tisratil, third eye? Answered by Mr. Puri. The last perfect living master is the master you will always see. And if you never come back to the physical plane, in other words, you on the list A, that master remains with you forever. And then Mr. Puri says, PLMs come with the same awareness and power from the same source, one source. So all the PLMs, the true PLMs, they come from the one true source. The awareness of that oneness makes all masters the same. This is very important. If I'm going to continue later today, I will come back to this because this is a very important point. The awareness of that oneness makes all masters the same. The awareness of that consciousness of oneness, where they operate from. So it can happen that you can be initiated by more than one master. The answer is. And this is now Mr. Puri. I'm quoting exactly his words as the transcript. When I initiate you with great master's power, which here means great master's initiation. We can come back to this if you have a question what that really is. It's the same power. Therefore, when you get that initiation, if it is your last life, then this is the master who you will see. Whoever you see now will be seen by you forever. In other words, let's say someone was initiated by Mr. Puri, and he actually did receive the Great Master initiation, and that, as Mr. Puri said, this is a Great Master initiation. Mr. Puri, it is the form of the Master, which will be with you forever. In other words, let's take my case. This is exactly my case. With other explanation that in my case, I stop at that. Now, this is Mr. Puri I'm reading. If I can't help somebody to go to where the seeking is, they will find another master. And Mr. Puri again, if you are still pulled by the former master who died and you are looking for one who has no pull from you, stick with the one who passed away. In other words, there's so many people who were initiated by the Seven Masters. They even came to Mr. Puri to his Satsangs and so forth. Some of them they felt the pull to Mr. Puri one way or another. They just maybe just deserve listen to Satsangs. But in that case, depends on the state of consciousness. Even Mr. Puri will tell them, you don't need an initiation. You're already been initiated by this master, and he will keep them at that stage. With the former master, who may not be alive. So let's say someone was initiated by Kirpa Sen, quite a few people. The Leon Ponset, for example, was initiated by Kirpal Sen. So before Leon Ponset died, he was 95, I think, or something.
96.
96 already. Before he died, Master will tell him, and this is the actual story, actual words more or less. Leon, prepare yourself. Master Kirpal is coming for you. And in a few days, Leon died. He passed away. Master told him that in the hallway, literally in front of
In New Jersey, yes.
where was that? New Jersey?
Yeah,
New Jersey, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but they said it was in New Jersey. So how do you go about? Mr. Puri says, it depends on the pool you get of unconditional love. If you receive great master initiation from me, Mr. Puri, and that, speaking, Mr. Puri is saying this, I will be with you forever. So let's say someone was initiated by Mr. Puri and he received the great master initiation, which basically means no more physical life. If you were initiated by if you received the great master initiation by Mr. Puri, and you on a list day, that's between you and Mr. Puri, this is your last life. In other words, there's no possibility of you coming back to physical world. Now, so Mr. Puri explains that. And this has to go back to those who knows to Jarmasin and the promise, between Jarmasin and the Great Master, the whole story. I'm just reading, this is from Bandara, April 11, 2018 or so, part 1 and 2. Supposing you are ready for a perfect living master, a perfect living master will come into your life. One master, no change. If a perfect living master comes into your life, you don't need a change unless you are not ready perfectly and you have to die before you're achieving anything. And this is in reference to the question, can someone be picked up by more than one master or perfect living master in one lifetime? So basically, Mr. Puri is explaining that that may depend on the disciple. You can be with one perfect living master and then reach other perfect living master. But the really how this usually works is within the consciousness. It works upwards. So the one master, even if he's a perfect living master, you're able to go so far with that master. These are not limitation of the perfect living master. It's just our own limitation. So later on, you may come across another perfect living master, and with that one, you will continue a little bit farther within to the higher region of within consciousness. And if that is your last one, he will take you to such kind. Mr. Puri explained, in the physical body, it is a very short time. The physical form, the existence is really short. This is understood even when you go to the astral form and looking from that state of awareness. This is not that long. Let's say 80 years or 90 years. It's in that aspect. It's not that long. In the spiritual aspect of this process, this is many lifetimes. Like I said before, originally, Mr. Puri says it's 5-6 lifetimes. And if you read the Anatomy of Consciousness, he explained that. But in the Great Master Initiation. So let's say if someone received the Great Master Initiation and it is on the list A, in other words, doesn't have to work around on the astral or causal region, some other, call it issues, then this is your last lifetime. If you're on list A, then Master takes you to usually big words right there. Mr. Puri, the last master after which you never come back to the physical world is your last perfect living master. And the one master. Before that, there can be many. Can it happen within the same lifetime? The answer, Mr. Puri, it can. So some of us we may be initiated by more than one master in the single lifetime, but the last master is the one master. So if you're initiated by Mr. Puri and you completed all this process, let's say before he left his physical form, in that sense. What I mean by that, there's no more process to be completed in the astral or causal form for you. But in a way, he's the master. In other words, he's the master who will be with you for eternity, and this cannot be challenged. Now, if you with a type of the master, you still have to reincarnate and come back to physical form. That is different. This is not the case I'm speaking about. This is not the case of Great Master Initiation. Let me read a few. Whoa, that'll be a whole satsang, I think. Supposing you are initiated by the master and you have made no progress during the time. The master was perfect, but you did not perfectly follow what the master was saying. In other words, take it easy, Mr. Puri says. Your ideas of going within is limited to astral plane. You can find another master in the same lifetime. This is a situation we spoke about satsang before. When we asking this, if you can consciously be aware of being in astral plane, because many people are so-called teachers, or they talk about this higher regions and everything else, but many of us, we have a problem to be even aware of the astral plane, consciously aware. So if you're stuck in the astral plane, we're stuck in the astral plane. That's why I spoke in many satsangs. Have your attention on the true form, on the Sachkhand, instead of just trying to have as many as those astral or causal so-called experiences. Our attention should be on the highest point within the consciousness. In other words, here. And from there, there's another way of going. Swami Jivavaga speaks about that. You did not take advantage of that as a perfect living master, and you are still struggling, and you are still trying to wait for the physical appearance of a master, which you think has been ingrained in your mind. You have to have a living master who is alive at the time when you can make progress. So Mr. Puri is speaking here about from the point of view of mind, how the progress, you need the perfect living master. So if one master, not of his own fault, he just took you so far, even if he was a perfect living master, you may end up with another master. Mr. Puri, now, there will be another master who will take you farther up. But unless you have crossed a certain stage, or a perfect living master has given you a nudge beyond the normal nudge and placed you on a list called A, you have to be born again and find another master. Now this is maybe confusing kind of a little bit. Each of us would like to consider ourselves that we are on the list A. And hopefully we all are on the list A. But we can be given nudge beyond the normal nudge and be placed on list A. This is very important because I witnessed something like that. I've been present physically, and there was a group of satsangis. 2017, I don't remember exactly, but I was present physically. And everyone present there, I know who this, of course, who these people are, was granted such kind. Mr. Puri was just revealed the much of the great master and granted everyone there such kind. So this masters can do that if you're in the right place at the right time, so to speak. They can do this, and I witnessed this myself. And I remember I was one of these present, and everybody was like, whoa, shocked. In fact, no, I cannot go in that because that you will know who some of these people are. I cannot reveal that. That's too private or for them, not for me. For better, for worse, I witnessed that myself. By the way, this was the time when Master was eating, and he had this dessert. Like he was sitting like by the round table. Is this okay, guys?
Yes.
So he was eating, and this dessert was like in a cup. So everybody will go around that table. Master will be sitting, and you could talk to the master and so forth. And I came and took the chair and was sitting like in front of the master, and there's like a ring of people standing right next to, listening to every word was gonna go. And I'm looking at the master, and he has this dessert. He his dessert, like two of those. And I said, I looking at him, and I said, "Can I have some of your dessert?" And silence. It was like literally you could hear. It was total silence. Everybody froze. Literally, like they were standing. They were just like freeze. What's gonna happen? I mean, what is this guy doing? Taking such real risk, he's the master sitting there. And he's looking at me, and he just gave it to me. So he shared his dessert. This Indian dessert, I forgot. It's like a sweet kind of things, like a syrup. So is it beneficial to be around the perfect living master? Yes, because you never know. The Moj comes in and that's it. Your journey is over in that sense. But this is interesting because here Mr. Puri says that if you're not on the list A, you have to be born again and find another master. And this is where we'll have to explain some about that a little bit more. Maybe not the satsang. I'll have to make a note of that, please. I'm reading Mr. Puri. So there is no limit to how many masters you can meet and how many can be a perfect or not. Normally, you meet masters who are not as perfect as the final one, but sometimes you can meet perfect masters one after the other. This happens because masters die. We are in that exact situations right now. We think we had the connection with the physical form of the master. We are confined to that and we can't find the same joy, the same pull anywhere. Then a perfect living master will appear in your life to give you the feeling of the same pull which you missed out. So there are many factors that govern how many masters can come into your life. And this is from the Bandara, April 1, 2018. So I have a few more here. Rally Saligram. The Supreme Being is a formless and bodiless. As such, no one can perform his dhyan. This is very important. Because many people, there are some people who claim who do this like every day, you know. But devotee can reach and merge into his feet, radiant form, by contemplating the Shabbat which has emanated from him. It takes the devotee to his beloved. Baba Savan Singh Ji, the creator is the only doer. The real form of the Guru is Shabbat, and that is the truth. But that is also reflected in the physical form and there's different forms when we're in contact with, so to speak. Baba Savan Singh Ji, a Sadguru, after initiating an individual, hands him over to his own Guru. He himself does not take responsibility. If his Guru cannot help the individual, the Guru's Guru, or even the Guru of the Guru's Guru, helps him. I also, Mr. Puri, I also entrust to the care of Baba Jaiman Sen, whomso everyone I initiate. I mean, this is in respect of the Great Master. This is explained according to this in Volume 1 by Rai Sahib Mushiram, Volume 2. If you're interested in research this some more. Quote by Ms. Ishwar Puri Ji. I don't initiate anybody. I see masters because Master Savan Singh died in his physical body. In that sense, he can be seen. I can see him, and that's the beauty of initiation by Master, that you see him all the time, even after he dies. In fact, you see him even more after he dies from you. He dies, you see him more than you see him when he was alive, Mr. Puri explains here. So since I can see him, I can see his initiation. People think I am initiating, and I know that is why I call it Great Master initiation and not my initiation. I am very happy to be the witness. So Mr. Puri explained this a little bit about the process of initiation, that he and in my understanding, Mr. Puri initiates, but he explained to him how this goes back. This Namdan, power of initiation, from Mr. Puri to the Great Master, and always, to the line we spoke about before, kind of. And my concern is when I do these satsangs, for example, if I have to speak about my connection, it is a connection to Mr. Puri and Great Master. I do not dwell beyond that in that sense. Although I do understand how this works. I don't make any claims that I'm the master. I'm just trying to explain what Mr. Puri says here. And this is the last one. The great master Hazur Maharaj Savan Singh Ji said he's not a master, but a servant of a master. Master sounds Nanak or Guru Nanak have not claimed that they are a master. If they claim to be, you can be certain they are not a master. It's an ego game, which I'm going to come back to it. Who is the perfect living master? It has to be determined by the seeker. Interesting. Who will be pulled by unconditional love he experienced from his master. My advice to all seekers is to follow a master who pulls them with his unconditional love. Love is pulling us from beyond the mind. Satpurush, the creator, is pulling you back. So I thank you for your time. This may be not easy to listen, someone just reading, but I wanted to explain this based on what Great Master said and what Mr. Puri said, what Mr. Puri said to me in that sense. So unless someone has other question, I can answer some more questions. The other aspects I was thinking some time to speak about is danger of losing critical faculty of the mind. And another one is, I wrote the ego on steroids. Unlimited ego on steroids game. So the second one I wrote, the first stage of illusion. The quick answer to that, what is the first stage of illusion, is the illusion of the individual soul. So the question, what is the first state of illusion? The first state of illusion is not just illusion of the mind or this mind regions and so forth, is the illusion of the individual soul. So I wrote this quote, Mr. Ishwapuri Ji, first stage of illusion is the individual soul. And this is true. And if people don't like to hear this, they will look at such content on the individual soul as something as the end of the game, and it is not. If you want more information to that, anatomy of consciousness, Mr. Puri speak about that and refer to Kabir Sahib, I believe, also, who speak about the subject. Danger of losing the critical faculty. Answer to that, most of us, we think like the mind is something bad, like really bad, and we call this negative aspect of creation, or creative aspect of creation, but something bad, and we call this Kalan Naranjan. And so there's this concept of believe anything anybody say. In other words, this may work when master gives the instructions, but generally, Mr. Puri said you have to do not lose your critical faculty of the mind. This life, we have this mind, and we have to use it in the right way. So if someone is trying to take advantage of you, or sell your cat in the back and tell you it's full of gold, you gotta have a critical faculty to discriminate. Now, discrimination is maybe a negative word, especially today. You can't even use it. They're gonna kick you out of the YouTube or something, some forum. But the right discrimination, it's necessary. We are not here to become the victim of life, or victim of other people's minds or their personalities. And this is very exemplified in the spiritual path. There are many different groups, there are many different paths. And they become religious cults. They actually become cults. I was just listening to this program about this cult, how this all develops. And I don't want to name the guru, but it's very interesting to understand the process. This wasn't about Santman, by the way. This was about someone who claimed he's a Sikh and doing this and that. Pranay will know who I'm speaking about. $1 billion, over $1 billion business here. So this satsang is a little bit different because I don't want to just rely on the words you hear just from me, and then I want to use Mr. Puri's words in the satsang in that sense. Ultimate ego. When Mr. Puri spoke, I just read about ego. What I'm trying to explain in this subject, and then I would like to take the break. And if anyone has a question, I will stay longer. The ego game. There's always an ego game going on after perfect living master dies or leave his physical form. This was explained to me and graced by Mr. Puri about the so-called successors. And they're going to make the claim that they are successors of Mr. Puri. And form the flock, like a sheep, But, there's a saying, sheep needs the shepherd. But many times, shepherd is the best friend of the butcher. So, sheep needs the shepherd, and the shepherd is the best friend of the butcher. And this is going on many times, and is going as we speak. So I said to the satsang, be very careful who you follow, because you really want to follow the real shepherd, the true shepherd, like Mr. Puri was. Don't follow shepherd who is hanging around with the butcher. This is not going to work out for you. And this is why also the critical faculty of the mind is necessary. Do not believe just anybody who say just about anything to convince you. Do not believe me. Every word I say, please verify. Go inside and verify. I don't have an agenda to, in the sense that to convince anyone of anything. I do not collect the money. I do not use Sangat money for my personal expenses. We are not even an organization. There's no organization. We are just Sevadars for the master doing spiritual work. We're not building anything. The message in the Ishwarpuri Sant Mat is go within. Go within. Because as Mr. Puri explained, I just read to you, and I said this many times, please make sure this is your last lifetime. And there are reasons why I say that. Maybe one of the satsangs I will explain why. And this has to do with the future, so to speak, kind of. So the masters explained when the perfect living master dies, there's always a lot of gurus coming up and making the claim, oh, I am the successor of Mr. Puri. I can count. I am not sure my 5 fingers on my one hand are enough. People making already this claim. So let me explain something, also from the karmic point of view, from the karmic side. If you're speaking officially in front of the huge portrait of Mr. Puri, or Mr. Puri, the Great Master, you're making claim that you are present master. This is the huge responsibility. I'm not saying who is or who is not. I'm just trying to bring awareness to everybody. This is not the game. And this cannot be taken lightly. Someone who speaks, and I know you see in some portraits of the Great Master here, I take full responsibility for what I'm doing. But let's say someone is sitting in front of the huge picture of the Master. I really wish that person really is a master. It is not just a mockery of Mr. Puri, or it's not just a mockery of the Great Master. These things cannot be taken lightly. Unless someone is, in other words, unless someone is in the same consciousness with Mr. Puri, or unless someone is with the same consciousness as the Great Master, or Mr. Puri, or the Great Master, they better be really a master. Because not only they deceiving themselves, they deceiving every single person they speaking to. And this is incredible karmic responsibility. To pretend to be a master if you are not. Deceiving everyone listening. And I notice a lot of people are doing that. They will go on this site, or they will sit on the podium and they say, I am not the master. But at the same time, they will say, Mr. Puri is speaking to me. And at the same time, they sit in in front of the huge almost picture of Mr. Puri and the Great Master. This is incredibly, incredibly important that the person who is doing that, they really are the master. If you are not, be very careful, because this has been done before many times. And let me tell you some little secret. The belly, the bottom of the belly of Karl Ranjan, if you read the Anurag Sagar, Ocean of Love, there's this like a picture, of Karl Ranjan with his sharp teeth and all that. And someone standing in the mouth of Karl Ranjan. It takes just a split of the 1 billion trillionth second for this mouth to close. And the person who is standing right inside will be swallowed. This is metaphor, of course. And let me explain something to you. The bottom of the belly, inside the belly of Karl Ranjan, the bottom is full of gurus who make the false claims. Why is this important? Because unless you are master in the same awareness and consciousness with Mr. Puri, as we speak, do not sit and pretend that you are. Because as you know, some of you know that there's a great sin which may not be even forgiven for even the masters, they will not forgive that. And that sin is taking away the seekers from the perfect living master. Not as far as I heard, not even perfect living master. This may be the only one which cannot be forgiven. And this is a very important aspect. And this is the aspect of ego. In this case, ego on steroids, not just the ego. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it. And I say this with, I'm not saying this likely, and I personally don't make any claims. But let me tell you something. When this life is over, ignorance is not the excuse. You will not be able to claim the ignorance as the excuse. So I have a story to explain that. I don't know, to take a 5-minute break and I can tell you the story. What do you think, Grace? Let's take 5 minutes break and I tell you the story about kind of funny story. I seen this theater play by this not in a theater, but this theater group. So I need to take 5-minute break. For those who will stay, and we may have answer your questions if you wish. Thank you.